Welcome to Invest in Women, the podcast series, your insight into the growing wealth of women and the issues that impact their business and yours. See what happens when you educate, empower, and invest in women.
Let's face it, retirement planning can be confusing. At Jackson, we're working to make retirement clear for everyone, starting with you. Our easy-to-understand resources and user-friendly digital tools help simplify your entire experience. You can have confidence in your retirement with clarity from Jackson. Seek the clarity you deserve at jackson.com. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York. Robyn Crane joins us now. Robyn, thank you so much for taking the time. Now, we're going to have your bio in the show notes, but I just have to say, you're a keynote speaker, you're a best-selling author, you're a business coach to financial professionals. That's why you're with us today. You're a mom of 3 kids, some's young, a teenager. You play sports. I just need you in my life on a daily basis to let me know how you accomplish all these things.
Oh gosh. Well, I do get help. I'll tell you, I don't do it alone. That's for sure. But yeah, it's a challenge sometimes. The little ones, and my 3.5-year-old likes to come into my office at the most inopportune time. So probably, she might walk in. Yeah, it's also a great time in life where it's just I'm really reaping the benefits and kind of harvesting all the hard work over the years. So it's been nice.
Well, I love it. I have a 9-year-old, so that's why I'm like, and I'm one and done, and it takes up a lot of my time, which is a great thing. But that's one of the reasons, we gear our show toward women and, women who are much like the two of us that are professional women, sometimes mothers, sometimes taking care of elderly parents, doing both. It's one of those things where I do think there's a different perspective, knowing that sometimes you are the one to get everything done and still have to fulfill your dreams, kind of, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel sorry for myself all the time. I'm like, gosh, no, I do think, I'm joking, but I also do think like sometimes I get into this martyr role a little bit where I'm like, even with my husband, like I do it all, and it's like, it's kind of, I think maybe a woman's thing where it's like, we do feel like it's all on us, where sometimes a lot is on us and that's real. And then sometimes I just think that's probably patterns that I've run from my parents of like putting all this pressure on myself of,
Right.
being the best version of me. My mom used to always say, you're a better version of me. You're a better version of, just like that. So I like held myself to a very high standard. But I feel like it's amazing what we women can do because we can do more than men can do. And that's actually a literal statement, right? We can have babies and they can't. But I do feel like from a women's perspective that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, especially if we're, working hard in our career and trying to make it as advisors or make it as business owners. And there are a lot of moving parts because we care so much about helping people. We care so much, about being there for everyone and putting others first. Sometimes that there is some, oftentimes a pullback in areas of our life because of that, because we're always putting others first and doing so much. So I do sometimes feel like, oh gosh, it's amazing. And sometimes and the reason I'm here is because I beat myself up all the time as well, and we just keep going back, playing that game back and forth, back and forth.
Well, and I think too, with men and women, I have a son and I'm always, reiterating to him about the equality of men and women. Yet there's beauty and diversity and beauty and differences and working together. And I think for, some of my explanation based on what you just said is, we're very emotionally based, and that is that nature, nurture, who cares? Most women are, there's a lot of emotions that run through our veins at every single moment. And thus, that's why I think that, like, when you talk about everything that you suffer through on your own, beating yourself up, every woman can relate to that because it is like a constant river of things that you have to navigate. So based on all that we've said, we're going to move it to money because I know, like, I mentioned earlier, you're a coach to financial professionals. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about how that mentality may differ with women when they deal with money, and how female financial professionals can use their gender as an advantage for both male and female clients when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that women are naturally good at is typically we're better listeners. We're also better talkers. I think a lot of times I go on dates with my husband sometimes and I'm like, can you just let me talk first? Like, I just want to talk a lot and I just want you to listen. And then I'll listen. So I don't know. I think there's both, but I think we're naturally, and I'm going to use this almost a negative term, but intentionally, is we're naturally nosy. Like, we like the details. We want to know what makes someone tick. We want to know what's holding them back. We want to know what their problems are. We want to know that stuff. Whereas I think, some men, and this definitely isn't all, but some men, it's more like, just the facts. And I just want to know, like, here, we were taught in the financial industry to mostly fact find in the sales process and mostly just show the different options of how they can work with us. Like, here are the investment options, here are the life insurance options, here are your annuity options. And it's kind of pitching, even though it doesn't seem like it, but that's really what it is. And if we flip the script, like what women naturally are like, they want to know more details about things. And so if we just add some components of that we're naturally drawn to, like, well, what is really driving you? Like, what is it that you really want? It's kind of like an acting, what's your motivation? But we do need to know, like, what's their motivation? Because just because someone says they want to retire in 10 years, like, that means so many different things to different people. And if you don't get curious and you don't get nosy, and you don't get the details, then what separates you? Like, what makes you different than everybody else? Like, why not just go to 5 other advisors who offer, similar stuff, but packaged slightly differently? And then it's just the perception of value that's really going to be, important to the decision-making process. So if you instead really understand what they want, you really understand what makes them tick, you really understand what's motivating them, you really understand their concerns, then you can solve their problems. And women naturally want to do this. And I think we're also fulfilled by this because it's so just, I guess I can't think of an even better word than fulfilling, but I would say transformational to be able to take someone from having anxiety about money, feeling uncertain about money, feeling like disempowered or, unsure about what to do and how to make those decisions, and then to empower them with decision making and feel like they're doing the right thing when their whole life they were worried about doing the wrong thing. Like, that's where all of a sudden, like, we women just like light up. Like, this is like, there's probably this part in our brain that's just like, boom, 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 light up, because this is that fulfillment light in our brain, which I'm totally making up is going to be now the new psychological term, the fulfillment light. But
that's the name of your next book. That's the name of your next book, by the way.
Fulfillment light. Yeah, it goes off like, oh my gosh, like, this is why I'm here. This is why I do what I do. And this is where the magic happens. And the money is just validation of the transformation that you're providing. Mm-hmm. And many women play it safe. Like, oh, I don't need to get too many clients. I don't want to go too high net worth. I don't want to, I don't need to work with the wealthiest people in the world. And to me, it's like we're playing small. And I say we because I've done the same. We're playing small because we're concerned about what people are gonna think about us. We're concerned they're gonna think we're money hungry. But you know what? If the women who care the most about people in the world have the most money in the world, we're gonna make the biggest impact in the world. So I'm like, don't feel bad. You don't have to apologize for making more money and working with wealthy people who are also the people in the world who are gonna make the biggest impact, because money does give a lot of people choices and allows people to give back more and all the things and create more success. And so it's like, it's okay to help those people who are hurting that have a lot of money. Like, that's okay. And it's okay for you to make a lot of money so you can change the world at a faster pace. And it's okay to have everything you want and have the freedom and flexibility and time with your 9-year-old son and, all the things that we want, and play pickleball, 3-4 times a week, like I like to do. It's okay to do that. But we women sometimes don't give ourselves permission for that, like as if it's not okay if we get to enjoy the harvest, like reap the benefits of everything we've worked hard to do, and then to be able to get on in a place where we position ourselves to actually reap the benefit and not have to keep working as hard.
Well,
it's like also we have to work that hard to get the result. Yeah.
Well, and Robyn, I think also the definition of reaping the rewards, because I just think that when it comes to money, there's just been, you think of, like you said, the biggest ballers, right? The ones that got the biggest boats and the biggest cars and the biggest houses, and they go on these exotic trips.
since you said baller, like that's where it comes from, right? I say baller too, but it's like a male word because like we've associated with that, right? But I had to interrupt you on that.
No, I'm glad you did, because
not inappropriate.
No, it's not inappropriate. Because it's the truth, and we're talking about the truth. And I think that, I wrote down playing small because women do that all the time. And so it's almost like we're afraid to ask for what we want. And sometimes it's because we may not know what we want because we've been serving others. But, that kind of goes into the question about when you work with financial professionals as well as, their clients. I benefited from having both parents involved in business. So my mother was just as business savvy as my father when it came to money. But I know many people who didn't have that situation, and that so many men in their families ran the money and passed that information on to their sons, but didn't necessarily train their daughters on the same thing. Now that's generations past. Do you still see that trend happening now? Or is it better?
Yes, I still think that trend is happening now unconsciously, and even women do it. And they've had studies, and I don't remember the studies, but I know I've heard about these studies where that even women treat their son differently than they treat their daughter. And it's not like an intentional thing. It's so generationally like intertwined in our brains, and it's happened for so many years. And I don't know if you believe in past lives. I kind of do, kind of don't, but it's like, but even if it's not past lives, it's like the generations before, it all trickles through to us. Like my mom is a very nervous person. She worries about everything. And her mom, who of course I knew, my grandmother, but she had her quote in high school, under the senior picture was, "I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous." Okay, so this is like my grandmother's claim to fame is, "I'm so nervous." Like, we're celebrating this. Like that's not necessarily a good thing. And, my mom was just here in town visiting, and my husband, this is horrible if my parents hear this, but like, let's just be honest. My husband was saying, "I see how you carry a lot of stress and anxiety about certain things, because I see it in your mom of how much like she just finds things to worry about." And it's hard to see, and it's hard to like, I don't know, just like watch my mom do this when she has, let's say a health challenge with her eye right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the stress, if you just weren't worried about all these things. Now I'm talking about emotions, but I think all of that trickles down. And so part of it is something that's like an unconscious, I don't know, generational thing that happens, whether it's from your mother or your father. There's definitely things I get from my dad that I'm like, oh yeah, like I have this belief because of, the way my dad talked to me and I felt stupid. And, we all have these stories, right, of like what happened when we were 5 or 7 or 9 or whatever, which is why as parents, we're so scared of traumatizing our children. But
exactly. So because I hardly had conversations with my father, so I probably have too many with my son, right? So
maybe, right? So sometimes, we do the opposite, but part of it is that it's like it's trickling down, I think, through the unconscious or subconscious beliefs that are happening from, let's say, my grandmother's grandmother. Like if she was so nervous, like imagine, some of these, and I'm Jewish, like who experienced the Holocaust and had to flee and like talk about nervous, right? Of something that's real. It's like, if we experience this when, in my family of during times of the Holocaust where they had to escape of reasons to really be nervous, generationally, it's like my grandmother and my mother had to create that same feeling, almost like to make sure to provide homage to, is that the right word? Like respect to our elders in our future, in our past generations. I don't know. That's very weird shit, but like, I think all of that matters.
I'm following right along. I'm with you because.
All right, you guys follow? You're following?
Yes.
But I think also, so that's like, I think something happening that most of us are not aware of, which is, why I'm really interested in kind of getting deep into those unconscious beliefs and like ripping them out, because I think there are things plaguing me every day that like I try to push down and that affect me in a positive way as well. Like I am this successful because of these things. Like I'm just as grateful for all the things I've gotten from my parents as I am blaming them for all my problems, right? It's like equivalent. I'm because I'm happy with who I am, but I also don't want to stay who I am. Like I know there's a next level. But I also think there's certain things that are like ingrained in us that are actually more conscious, or maybe it's not intentional, but it's more verbal, right? Of like my dad even said to me, I recently brought up to him, like how I remember this conversation when I was asking him to help me with math. And he, at one point, he was like, well, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I don't know. And he crosses his arms and just in total frustration, he's like, this is all I can explain to you. And I brought that up to him recently, and he's like, I don't remember that exact circumstance, but I remember that feeling. And he said, I just felt like when I explain things to your brothers, they think the same as I do. They're more like engineer type. They were just different. And when I explained things to you, I actually was frustrated because I didn't know how to explain it in a way for you to understand, which is what he said. And he was frustrated. But the way I took it was, oh, I must be stupid. I'm not good enough. I'm not loved, because that's what we do as children, right? So like those, and it wasn't necessarily, a money thing, but I think we can apply that to money as well. And like, if we believe that we're not smart enough, we believe we're not going to do the right things with our money. And my whole family is just like, it's a right or wrong. Everything is right or everything is wrong, right? So it's like very black and white. And when it comes to money and that stuff, I see how that comes up for me with so much scarcity, because I'm like so afraid to make the wrong choice, right? So we got into a therapy session here, but
look, I love it. This is how girls talk. I mean, because that's the thing, is that this is geared toward women. Every woman listening be like, I feel you, Robyn. I know exactly what you're talking about. But the beauty of everything you just said is that if people are self-aware of these things, that there may be a miscommunication, a misunderstanding of how things were given to them, that there's hope that you can change it. My concern always is that some women may not be self-aware enough to understand that when you dismiss your finances to your husband, or you chose not to go into a profession that had to do with money because you were intimidated, you can always make changes because you are capable of doing it. And I think that it's vital that you understand, fortunately, again, my parents were, my brother and my sisters, we all had to learn to be self-sufficient. It wasn't just my brother, and then we would just pass the girls off to the husbands, right? And I think that I know so many women, whether it's money or whether it's safety or whether it's car maintenance or whatever it is, they do not feel self-sufficient, and they have not given themselves the opportunity to. And I know plenty of guys that don't know crap about any of that stuff, but they have just been trained to think, well, let me try it and see if it works. And if it doesn't, I'll call somebody, right? And there's no insecurity about their decision-making, it seems.
Right. Yeah, I think I would agree with you. Like in my upbringing, I didn't feel, at least at a conscious level, like that it was different between my brothers and I as far as the money stuff or expectations. Like I definitely think my parents gave me a lot of support in like doing what I thought was right, even though it was about right and wrong, but like, and actually supporting me and trusting me in those decisions. I did some things that are just extremely unconventional. At 25, I went and traveled around the world for a year, which my parents like, go ahead. They didn't pay for it, but they said, go ahead, and I came back and I decided I wanted to be a singer songwriter. And my parents like, if that's what you want to do, like, they weren't like, no, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer. I didn't have that pressure. It was like, if that's what you want to do, go for it, and that was really important to me. And that felt really good. And that I had that support, and that they did have a lot of belief in me that I could do anything. And my mom always tells the story of how, when I was 2 years old, I climbed the jungle gym, and she was so nervous I was going to fall. But like, she did, even in spite of the fact that she was, freaking the F out, she let me still climb the jungle gym. It's like, she let me like do those things, in spite of the fact that she had a lot of fear, and I could feel that anxiety, but it's like, it didn't hold me back from doing it. And I had a lot of like entrepreneurial things, looking back, that I've talked about before, just that it's almost surprising with my upbringing that I did this. But I started my own swim lesson business when I was, I think 16. Like, I started teaching swim lessons for $8 a half an hour. And then by the time I was 25, I was charging $25 a half an hour. And I went and traveled around the world because I had saved like, I don't know, 10, 15 grand or maybe more. I don't remember now, but it was like a lot of money for a 24-year-old, and to be able to do that. And again, I think that had a lot to do with the fact that my parents believed in me and let me make my own decisions, with judgment sometimes, but it's like the judgment and the support was still there, even with the judgment. Right. And so I think as a society, just to wrap this, come back around to what you're saying, I think as a society that, of course, it's more typical that women feel like the man's going to take care of them and the man's going to do the stuff. And even with the upbringing, I will tell you, in our relationship, I've always made more money than my husband, and I still want him to make more money. Like, and we make together, both of us, he makes good money, I make good money, and we have plenty of money. I still want a lot more because like I have the scarcity mentality that I feel like I still don't have enough. I'm afraid it's gonna all be gone. Like I have all that, and I still want to be a woman and just want to be cared for, and I want to not have to worry about it and feel like I have to do it all. And if my husband made 10 times the amount of money, I'd still want to make as much money as I make and more and become the person that I'm meant to become. But and maybe it'll never be enough unless I change those beliefs, which I'm working on. But I do think there's like still in me like this desire to be taken care of, but still equally the desire to succeed in my own right.
Well, I mean, and I think that that's embracing all of you, the whole of you, right? So that's kind of, I think for women, for me, that we need to just be self-aware and embrace the limitation as well as the ambition and not worry about what we think about ourselves, right? And that be it. So, Robyn, before we go, if there was one piece of advice that you would tell a female advisor and one piece of advice you'd tell a female client, what would that be?
It's really, really difficult advice, but I'm going to tell you anyway. But imagine a world where you didn't care about what people thought, both of you, whether you're an advisor or whether you're a client, whether you're, someone who just wants to make enough money, have financial freedom, like everything would change if you just let go of what everybody else thinks about you and your decisions. And I can't say I am relieved of that. So I have to take my own advice. But like you said, self-awareness, I'm working on it and constantly working on me and who I am and becoming, just like my mom said, the best version of myself. I'm competing with me and only me. And I just read 10X is easier than 2X. So like, I want to go 10X and 10X and 10X again. And it's all about me and who I am. But the thing is, what keeps, I think, women shackled to the ground or, shackled in general is this motivation to prove themselves, which is what I lived my whole life to do, like without realizing it, like prove I'm smart, prove I'm good enough, prove I'm worthy, prove, all this. And the closer and closer I get to just having more of what I want, and I don't mean just money and all that stuff. I mean everything, like and more of the day-to-day of not feeling bad or being happy with how things are, regardless of it's working or not working. Like that's the stuff I'm really striving for, is like from an internal place to be okay with how things are, regardless of what it looks like on the outside, which is the hardest thing. But right. I do think that if I, and I'll just talk for myself now, if I could let go what everybody else thought or thinks, including my mom, including my dad, including my brother, people closest to me, but also including the public and everybody who sees me, then I think I would be able to do even more and create more success and create more transformation and make a bigger impact in the world. And so that's what I'm striving for.
I love it. Robyn Crane, thank you so much for joining us today. I think that, everything you just said, every day you have a new opportunity to do that. And I think for women just to be able to relax within themselves is a great gift. So thank you for sharing yourself with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Invest in Women, the podcast series. Your insight into the growing wealth of women and how to attract and retain your female clients and help scale your practice. Learn more by subscribing to this podcast or visiting fa-mag.com.